guy at the end that says all or nothing. He's got a great voice. I like him.
Yeah,
He's a nice
you can
guy.
just tell he's such a handsome man.
Oh,
just
100%.
from the way he speaks.
Definitely. We are getting ready for the second game of this series between UCAM and Mkers. But before we do, I wanted to have a quick look at some of Plasma's plays on that Thresh. Undefeated in group stage with it, of course, with UCAM going 6-0. He popped off. He just had a laser beam on these hooks. It's like he couldn't miss.
Thresh is such a hard champion to play against when someone's playing it well, and Plasma, I think this may be the best Thresh performance we've seen at E-Masters. I think maybe Jack Troll had a similarly impressive one, but it's kind of like, do you remember when junglers were picking Lee Sin, and it's just good junglers on Lee Sin just look absolutely terrifying?
Yeah.
I reckon that's Thresh is the support Lee Sin, you know, and Plasma put on an absolute clinic there. It was first pick as well, so I think that might be something that we adjust in the draft if we're Makers, but just hitting every single hook, dominating that bot lane, making these plays, setting up that Jinx for success, and that Jinx had the highest damage in the entire game, so a lot of that can be credited to Plasma and his great Thresh play.
Yeah, I wonder if you just have to ban it away. I think perhaps maybe leave one of those jungle bans to the wayside, get rid of the Thresh, but then Plasma can always go back to the Rakan that he brought out so well during the group stage, and it becomes very difficult when you're banning out support picks. Like, Thresh is very powerful, and we do see him banned quite often, but it really limits your ability to control a draft when you have to put a target ban on a support.
Yeah, and let's not forget that the rest of the UCAM roster is really good as well.
Yeah.
So it's like, if you try and focus Plasma, then you're just going to leave holes open somewhere else, and then someone else is going to step up. One of the things that makes this team so scary.
It really is. It's one of the reasons that they topped the LVP, and we'll see if they can make it through to the semifinals with a win in this game. They are now on the red side, though, gives Mkers the ability to get a strong first pick, and they're going to stick with that Skarner ban.
Looks like we might get some more jungle focus. So far, running back the bans. That Skarner obviously dedicated towards Hadess, but I honestly think there are other champions that he plays that are scarier, like the Hecarim, like the Udyr. That's going to be a pivot. Our first pivot, okay, game number 2, the Jinx is being taken away. Now, I do think, you know, Plasma obviously was the MVP of that bot lane, but still, Jinx is such a strong pick in the meta that you just don't really want to have to play versus that. And this Thresh ban itself might lean more in towards the Rakan pick for UCAM instead.
Yeah, I mean, with UCAM getting rid of the Thresh themselves, it means that Makers can't get something like the Thresh-Aphelios combination, which is still really strong in the bottom lane, and it does mean that we'll see some of those junglers open. Twisted Fate getting banned. UCAM here can't really ban the Hecarim or the Udyr, because then they would just give the other one to Makers, so they instead will remove Nocturne from the pool, and Makers get their pick of either Hecarim or Udyr.
We often see Hecarim be that first pick because it's a bit more well-rounded and can transition more into the team fights than Udyr can. But honestly, pick Poison is not really a bad choice right here. If you're Taxa, if you're Hadess, you pick one, handshake the other. It is going to be that Hecarim. So UCAM, Hadess most likely going to pick up the Deer there. But again, I'm really curious to see if we see the Rakan. You know, I do think like Plasma's Rakan is worth picking up this early. There's not a huge amount of counters, I don't think, now that this Thresh is being taken off the table, especially if you're a good Rakan player, as Plasma has shown. He played it 4 times in the group stage, was really, really effective with that. See what direction I decide to go.
I think the only thing with Rakan is you kind of want an engage to follow up, right? So Rakan Hecarim is really nice because Hecarim dives in, then you jump onto the Hecarim and you follow up the engage, right? Like, well, I mean, Tristana probably shouldn't be the champion that you follow in for the engage, but,
if you're in the lane, man.
Yeah, you know, in the lane it works.
Tristana jumps into. Yeah. Hey, you haven't seen my tank Tristana, man. You probably don't want to see it either.
No, I'm pretty good.
You're good. We're gonna get Kai'Sa on the other side here. Guubi loves playing this Kai'Sa pick. It's also a very good, well-rounded AD carry. We put a lot of the spotlight on Guubi as we got into this series. Last game he played Sion with Senna, which was really not exciting. Didn't go very well either. Didn't really allow Guubi to carry, but now on this Kai'Sa pick, you know, I do think when you have engage as well, like Hecarim's gonna be jumping in, Gnar's gonna be jumping in, you can really dogpile in with a champion like Kai'Sa.
Yeah, it gives you so much, so many different avenues to get your killer instinct onto the backline. Now UCAM needs to look at whether or not this Tristana is going to go mid. Of course, it is a possibility still. You can take it into the bottom lane, into the Kai'Sa, but Kai'Sa usually works okay into Tristana in the bottom lane. Instead, we will see the Irelia into Gnar matchup on the top side of the map. Dreedy is just like, mate, bring it. Like, he picks Camille into Gangplank, he picks Irelia into Gnar. It's an aggressive top lane from UCAM today.
Irelia has been known as like a good champion into Gnar. One of the few top laners, like the melee top laners, that can really give it to Gnar. But obviously very hard to pilot. You know, not an easy champion to get going. And I think, honestly, like that's just going to be really fun to watch in that top side. Especially it's Doxy's Gnar. Doxy's Gnar gets banned away from him all the time. I think there was like one game in the group stage where it wasn't banned away from him. So yeah, it's definitely a trial by fire a little bit here for Dreedy on that Irelia. As we sweep through the second round of bans here, Akali's going to be taken away from Zwyroo, and that's Silas as well. That's an interesting ban here because that makes me feel like, you know, there's a specific pick in this mid lane that Zwyroo's looking for. Doesn't want to get countered by that Silas.
I think also like Silas is just great with Hecarim and Gnar ults already, right? So you don't want to give UCAM, who need AP damage in the mid lane, the ability to pick something like a Silas that scales really well as the game goes on. UCAM will get rid of the Syndra, Orianna ban. So UCAM, if they fall back to sort of the traditional, Viktor or Cassio probably their options here, but Cassio into Hecarim and Gnar and Kai'Sa doesn't feel like the best of picks.
I would imagine we'd see a Viktor from one of these two squads here. I think it was Baca's most played champion, if I'm not mistaken, in the group stage, and Zwyroo also plays it. So, and there it is. There's the Viktor lock-in. It's a really safe blind pick. You know, you can farm from far away. You don't really have to put yourself in any vulnerable position. I would imagine, however, that Mkers absolutely saw this pick coming. So I'm curious to see what their response is. Because like they must have known this was happening, and then to that's how you get edges in draft, if you can predict what's coming through and then you can plan around it. We'll see what Zwyroo's going to pick up. It is actually going to be a lock-in on that Ryze. Okay, Ryze into Viktor in that mid lane.
Yeah, I mean, you get relatively good push. Viktor doesn't have the best push until he gets his E upgrade, so perhaps we'll see Zwyroo trying to work his way around the map. Alongside that, Alistar in the bottom lane. Hecarim Alistar, such a strong combination and engaging fights, especially if you go for the turbo chem tank. UCAM here, looking for that support. Rakan into Alistar isn't amazing, but it's okay. There's a lot of tanks on the side of Mkers, so it might be a little bit difficult to pick the Rakan up here for Plasma.
I feel like they need some kind of engage. The engage from UCAM isn't great right now. So Braum not the heaviest engaged, but still going to be pretty good against the range of Mkers, and should give a very strong bot side Tristana Braum matchup here as well. I think honestly Braum into Alistar is really nice during that lane phase. You know, if you tag Alistar with the passive, like you can stun him up, and he's very squishy before he hits level 6, right? So I think that's also a fairly good lane matchup and gives some protection to the otherwise perhaps a little bit, you know, I don't want to say immobile because Tristana's like the least immobile champion in the game pretty much as far as AD carries go, but the fact that she is that means that she goes absolutely bonkers and therefore needs protection. You know, it's not like she's vulnerable in traditional senses. She's vulnerable because she's mad as a champion, especially when someone like Woolite picks her. That's fun to watch, but still absolutely nutty. So yeah, nice pick to round out the draft here with that one.
I quite like the UCAM. It's kind of front to back style of their draft. Like they're looking just to kite back and kite back and kite back. But then you have Mkers who have a diving composition. You look at it, Hecarim, Kai'Sa, Gnar. All of those people want to be getting onto the back line, jumping onto that Tristana and trying to take her out before the fight really starts. So we have this comparison of styles. I'm trying to think. There's a word at the tip of my tongue that I can't quite get out. I can't remember what it is.
Is it a parallel, maybe?
It's not parallel. They're like perpendicular to each other. They're trying to do different things at the same time, but yeah.
Contrast?
Contrast. There we are. Thank you. Thank you, Foxy. This is why I keep you around. Anyway, let's jump on into the game. UCAM one game away from the semi-finals here in the EU Masters. Mkers trying to do it for the Italian pride, the PG Nationals. Stop UCAM from making it all the way through, and Mkers setting up something a little bit sneaky to start us off.
Mkers level 1 is fairly good depending on what Ryze skills up. That W doesn't root a level 1 anymore unless you've well, it doesn't root at all unless you've got a stack on someone, a mark on someone, which comes from another spell.
From the E?
Can't do that. Yeah. Is it just the E? Yeah, okay.
I'm pretty sure it's just the E. Yeah.
I think you're right. E like sets up everything on Ryze. Yeah, you're right. My bad. Either way, level 1, no root on that W, but it is a slow. It is something. Still, just going to get that vision and walk away. Now, something as well that I've noticed in this game is the lack of corrupting potions. Got 1 on the side of Irelia. We saw like 5, I think it was in the last game, with everyone taking biscuits as well. We don't really even have a lot of inspiration tree masteries here. I think Dreedy's Dreedy and bot side are the real only people here taking that inspiration. So we're not going to see a huge amount of biscuits coming through this game either, which may indicate, you know, these lanes might be looking to feel a little bit safer without having access to that biscuit, and instead just opting for slightly more aggressive rune choices.
For the moment, both the junglers will be starting on the bottom side of the map, work their way up towards top. Of course, last game we saw them on opposite sides, and it led to some early leads for UCAM's bottom lane. Here, both the bottom lanes going to be isolated in the 2v2, and I wonder if UCAM will be as aggressive, because you don't have that hook potential, you don't have that catch out the enemy potential anymore, and really FLICKR has to engage for Plasma to be able to get that concussive blows down. But immediately, explosive charge put down onto Guubi. Plasma's going to step forward, and with him taking the Winter's Bite first, he takes a chunk of his HP in response.
Man, Zwyroo's health is already pretty low here. Oof. We mentioned no corrupting potion. He's only got those standard refillables. Not going to do a huge amount. Plasma, though, getting kind of tanked down here. Better start here for... Oh, there's a level 2, though.
Yeah, immediately jump in, but FLICKR hits level 2 straight away. Rafitta just to be able to step away from the knockback. With the heal, I believe, had the movement speed so that FLICKR couldn't quite knock him back under tower.
That was close stuff right there, though. But some advantage for the side of Mkers, considering neither jungler is most likely going to be around this side of the map anytime soon. It's really, really important how you play these 2v2s, because that's gonna dictate a hell of a lot right here. And I think right now, getting that push in bot side is great. But considering how last game went, I think Mkers will be absolutely fine. We're not already being 3 deaths down at this point in the game.
We're only 3 minutes in. I'll give him a couple of moments to see as Taxa pops the ghost in the top lane. Dreedy's going to get slowed up with the boomerang, and Taxa's on the chase. Double stun. Dreedy trying to dash his way out. Hasn't even burned the flash yet. Flashes under the tower and just about escapes.
That was so incredibly greedy from Dreedy there. Yeah. I generally thought he'd held on to that flash too long, that either Doxy would flash in or something would happen, but because he went for this gank, Taxa is not level 4. 2 advantage for Hadess. He's going to spot this one out, be able to take this crab. Here comes Ryze, here comes Viktor.
Hadess doesn't have the smite. I believe it was secured. Actually, Hadess was the one to get it. Taxa's now going to get forced away. Doxy working his way down from the top lane, and Zwyroo going in. Hadess flashes away, but Doxy flashes forward. One more auto would be enough. They lose vision, but there's the kill coming out from Zwyroo. Baca now next on the menu as Doxy builds his way up towards that Mega Gnar. Taxi chasing forward. Dreedy going in. Can't quite land the stun. Taxa gets the Stampede back, but now Dreedy has doubles, and Doxy's in for a world of hurt. The red buff slows enough. Baca takes the kill, and meanwhile in the bottom lane, Click trying to charge up the stun, will be able to walk away.
What happened to these late game teams that we were painting? They don't like to fight early. They don't get objectives early. It takes them 35 minutes to win a game. What was that? That's absolutely, totally off script here, guys. What's going on? But at least we get some action. I honestly thought right here. So this one really favors the Udyr, because Udyr is so much stronger at this point in the game compared to Hecarim in these small skirmishes. But because you have Doxy coming in first, it does throw a little bit of a spanner in the works. And unfortunately, look at Baca's mana. Not quite able to finish Zwyroo here. One more auto attack. That would have gotten double buffs as well. Getting that blue buff would have really changed this. I mean, to be fair, UCAM still win this one, but it would have been just like a complete 3-kill swing here for UCAM. Instead, it's going to go over to just the 2, but still, I want to see how that double buff affects the top lane, because it's already countering.
It's a 2-level advantage already for Dreedy. Like, he's twice the CS. Doxy will catch this wave as it pushes in, so will only be a level and a half or so. But Dreedy can just force Doxy back underneath the tower, and I don't actually even know if he's backed yet and spent his money from that kill, so can go back. He's got a grand. He's already 600 gold ahead. Like, if Dreedy can take over the game from this position.
He really could, and I think he should as well. And the fact that Hadess is also pretty far ahead is kind of scary, because it's one thing for your lane opponent to be strong, but then when you've also got to worry about a jungler running around and him having threat on you as well. Yeah, not ideal. On the plus side, though, for Mkers, having the blue buff on Ryze early means he's just going to be able to perma-shove that in. And that helps him out a little bit at this stage of the game. But yeah, really, really good start here for UCAM. A 1,000 gold lead again. And just everything they want at this point.
Pretty happy with the way the game is going. We see Hadess working his way down towards that bottom side. There is a dragon available for them if they want. Udyr very good at taking these early drakes, and that's what UCAM are going to play for. A big switch up from their traditional style. As we've said, like, the early action and the early objectives isn't really what we've seen from UCAM in the group stages. Much slower, much more methodical, and here they seem to just be willing to take these skirmishes, kind of skill checking their opponents. Hadess down to half HP, has the smite, will secure it. Click going in, flashes with the double pulverize, now the chase is on. Guubi exhausted immediately, Kai'Sa trying to get the damage down, Plasma rooted up. There's the Realm Warp as well from Zwyroo, and the chase is on. Mkers diving in. Hadess able to get away from the moment, but doesn't have the flash. Rafitta on the wrong side of the rift, has flash, has heal, looking for the blast plant here. Will pop it and jump over the wall. Guubi has a flash of his own for the chase. Kai'Sa's going to tank up the tower as he comes from behind enemy lines. Rafitta flashes over him, but Kai'Sa waited with the rampage, and Rafitta will go down. Great play from Mkers.
TP advantage there for Mkers coming up huge. Getting that TP from Doxy, able to come through, make that number advantage mean something. It looked like at the beginning here, I thought UCAM might just be able to walk away, and if that happened, that would have been real nightmare right there for Mkers. But a great play actually, yeah, from the Alistar. 3-man pulverize, the Ryze ult helping chase down as well. Meanwhile, in the top side, Irelia is just like free farming, taking plates. So we'll have to see, like, yeah, this looks really good right now for Mkers. You know, you do get those kills, can't quite get the dragon, but it's okay. Getting back into the game, getting some gold in your pocket. But how does this affect Irelia and her impact on the game? She was already ahead, now she's going to be even further ahead. And that's really where like the price of this play really comes into action for Mkers. It's in that top. Oh my god, she's 66 CS to 39. It's already pretty grim, I'm not gonna lie. That's kind of scary.
It is pretty grim, but do look at what Mkers got out of it. Like, Guubi has 2 kills now. His Noon Quiver up.
Yeah. Last
time Mkers bot lane was a key point of weakness, and now they've been able to bastion that a little bit to be able to like hold back the push from UCAM. And if Guubi can get towards level 6, get towards these first couple of items, his Kai'Sa with the dive threat of a Hecarim, with the dive threat of a Gnar, can carry these fights. Dreedy will be looking to kill him, and that's the battle we're going to have to watch unfold as the game goes on.
That's always the thing when you have TP advantage. The cost is like what the other person gets who doesn't TP. And yeah. I think in this case, as you say, the cost is totally worth it. You know, getting 2 kills onto Guubi is really, really nice. We highlighted this guy coming into the series. He was the main carry for Mkers. When Guubi does well, Mkers do well. And Guubi is 2 kills up in this game so far, having a really, really good start for him. Playing Kai'Sa champion, he can certainly carry on as well. Doxy's gonna have to be careful here. Hadess is snuck in the top side.
Could just be a counter gank, but instead the Vanguard's dead. Doxy's just dead. Whoa! Oh my goodness, Dreedy, that was disgusting.
Wow. All right, that was a sick play right there from Dreedy. Not easy to play this Irelia and make that stuff happen, but absolutely.
Oh, Kai'Sa's looking for him. Has the onslaught of shadows. Dreedy feared up. Hadess and Plasma on their way up, and Dreedy survives with the flash. And this will be Rift Herald. Dreedy surviving that as well. Gets the Hecarim ult out. They get the Rift Herald still. And this is so good for UCAM. This Herald can be put into Dreedy's back pocket, gets towards that first item if they want, or they could try and funnel it into someone like Rafitta as well on this Tristana.
I think this is really where it defines right now for UCAM, like what direction they decide to go in the game, because I don't really think there's a bad option for this Herald. I would maybe say, oh my goodness, that's a flash.
Flash forward. Rafitta doesn't have flash. We'll use the jump to knock back the double buster Realm Warp. Oh, Rafitta, you played it perfectly. But there is no escape from the Kai'Sa Ryze combo. Mkers get their 4th kill of the game in the bottom lane.
That was so aggressive right there from Mkers mid laner. Oh man, he just flashed over the wall. He just instant comboed that.
I'm loving it though. We've had 7 kills in 9 minutes. This is crazy.
This is great. This is absolutely great. We've seen quite a few bloody games honestly in E-Masters. I wasn't expecting this series to have too many bloody games, I will be honest. But this is a nice change of pace from these teams. And now this is cool. You know, if you are Mkers, you're getting an extra kill into your carries right here. If you look at the kill totals, 201 for Ryze, 201 for Kai'Sa. These are the carries on your squad. You've got the people who you need to have gold, that you need to get fed, have gold and are fed. And it's the perfect stuff for Mkers here, who, let's not forget, like 1 game ago, they lost in like 25 minutes. They're getting absolutely demolished by UCAM. And I think right now, you know, you have some good scaling options too. You've had a good start. It's got to feel a lot better if you want to bring this to a game 3.
That's something we did see from Mkers before, as the Gnar comes out onto Dreedy in the top lane. He's trying to trade with Doxy. Won't be able to get away because Click and Kai'Sa are here to secure the kill. Mkers finding a kill on the fed top laner for UCAM. Keep that gold within touching distance as well.
And so what's the price of this play by moving everyone topside? Unfortunately for UCAM, Hadess wasn't around to lay down the Herald and pick up loads of plates when there was 3 members top. But it does mean that Guubi's being zoned from this bot wave, have relegated to killing the Krugs. And of course, it's a Tristana. You let her hit a tower for free, she is going to blow those plates up, as she's done, almost getting 3 plates right there. But here comes this Dragon Spawn. People moving down. There's a TP advantage for Dreedy this time. So Mkers, you've already played the TP advantage game in your favor. You have to respect that it's not in your favor this time around. Doxy, though, is making his move down. This could just be another fight around drag.
Well, Herald needs to get put down if UCAM want to go for it. Plates go down in about 2.5 minutes. Doxy's worked his way through that top side river down towards the mid lane fight, but instead he's going to back. There's the Herald that will kill off this tower without any help. Rafitta will want to be nearby to secure some gold. Hex splash across the wall from Click, but that tower is gone. And now UCAM, well, they haven't even brought Dreedy down yet. He's still in the top lane. He's still looking for those plates himself. And Mkers are going to give up the second dragon without even pulling out the TP from Dreedy.
Ooh, this one is tough to swallow though for Mkers. So much plate advantage right here for UCAM. You've got 5 in the bot side, 1 in mid, 3 in top. Meanwhile, for you guys, you've had 2. You've got 2 in total. It really is like, you know, almost 2,000 gold at this point. A lot of that just comes down to the plates, especially considering Mkers have a kill advantage here. Like, I just think UCAM's been playing the map really, really well, really smartly, and you can see now too, Rafitta on this Tristana plus Plasma, they're going to be moving to the top side of the map. They're done with bot side. That's boring. They've had enough fun down there. They want to go somewhere else. And this tower won't be long for the world either because it's pretty low. You know what? Will they get plates? What do you reckon, Medic? Over, under? Is Tristana going to get plate stop?
I didn't think they get plate stop.
Okay.
I think it takes them too long.
I think you're right. I think you're right, but you know what? Yeah, it's not happening. I thought, yeah, no, it's not happening. It's definitely not happening. But that tower is not going to survive for very long at all. Once the UCAM set up around the top side, the tower's just dead for sure.
It's definitely the issue for Doxy now that he is basically in a 1v3 with Hadess and Plasma teaming up to work their way through this top side. Okay, maybe they get plates. They get plates, mate. We both knew it. We said it. Reverse the tape. Rewind. They're definitely going to get these plates. Control ward picked up for Hadess as well. Doxy spots him out. And this actually might be a full 11 plates this early in the game. Now, Guubi, we talk about the cross-map play. Mkers are doing it this time. They have controlled that bottom side of the jungle. They will be able to get some plates onto their Kai'Sa as well, who's building up towards that first item. But you can see Rafitta already finished the Kraken Slayer, whereas Guubi went for the Berserker Greaves and the Noon Quiver to start off. Dreedy could jump in here, but with Click and Taxa on the flanks, it's going to be difficult. Realm Walk coming in as well. Dreedy's going to be in a 1v4 situation. TP in. Flawless Duet does get the stun, but Dreedy is rooted for days. Baca now in a 1v5. He's not getting out of this one alive. Guubi helps Doxy take the kill, and Mkers get their 7th of the game.
UCAM set everything up in the top side of the map, and when you do that, your bot side becomes vulnerable. Dreedy, obviously, you're just being thrown to the walls at this point, but that's fine, because you got some good stuff right there from top side. Rafitta got funneled a lot of gold through the plates. I have no idea why Baca TP'd in, though. Yeah. You're not trying to salvage that play or anything like that. You've accepted that Dreedy's in a bit of a pickle right there. You should really just like try and do something else. Just seeing here, Rafitta now, oh my goodness. Like, it's just, when a Tristana is able to play like this, it's just, the championship looks so strong, to be fair. It's one reason why it has such high priority in draft. But like, so Dreedy, if you're going to be here, firstly, it's a little bit greedy of you. But either way, just take the L. You know, just take the L and just live with it. I had no idea why Baca decides to join in as well. Like, he's just feeling charitable or something. Not sure. Either way, bad decision right there. Oh, Oof, that is a very, very low tower. Mate, if someone sneezes on that, it's gone. Yeah, get the big bad wolf in here.
It is built of bricks though, and the big bad wolf wasn't able to take that one down. Perhaps Rafitta with his gun will be able to do a little bit better.
Give the big bad wolf a gun. Maybe you could bring down that brick house.
True.
Haven't read that version, but I'm sure it's out there somewhere.
Pretty sure it's one of Aesop's fables. Mkers on the Rift here have 5 players in the top quadrant of the map. Basically, you could put a napkin over all of them. That's how close they are. Mid lane tower will fall. Dreedy down in the bottom lane is just going to get more gold in his back pocket. Hadess going in here. Turbo Chem Tank was popped, but Guubi just runs away from him, and that is, of course, one of the weaknesses of Udyr. Don't really have that gap closer that perhaps you would have on something like a Hecarim.
the fact that he is really, really speedy often makes up for it. Not gonna be so in this case. I'm wondering if, I think Guubi might be in a bit of trouble mid side. He has to respect this one. Yeah, no, never mind. He's gonna be fine. If we could just toggle the gold real quick right here, because I think Rafitta, despite being 0,
he's ahead.
Yeah, Rafitta has more gold. Rafitta has more gold than Guubi, purely because of the plate plays. Yep. Like he's 0-2-0 versus 2-0-3. Absolutely insane just the way that UCAM's been able to move the map around to actually get him not back into the game, but ahead. You know, he's actually ahead of Guubi right now. A lot of that I think was the top side plates because he got solo there, right? Like he had people shadowing him, which is why he was able to take the plates, but they weren't near enough to the tower to actually get the gold. So when he took the plates and got the turret kill, oh, he was a happy boy, very, very rich. And yeah, he's in a good spot right now.
He really is. The big discrepancy I saw was that Zwyroo is about 1,000 gold ahead or so of Baca right now. So this Ryze is going to be a key carry for Mkers as the game goes on. AD carries relatively even, although Rafitta has that small lead. Zwyroo, the guy that all eyes will be on. He's played this Ryze well so far. Those roam walks have been on point. Rift Herald coming down in the mid lane, but that tower's still pretty healthy. UCAM should be able to defend it. They've got all 5 players down on this bottom side. Kai'Sa diving in, and Dreedy goes down. Guubi goes on a killing spree, and the rest of UCAM are left wondering where their top lane has disappeared to. Doxy forced away with the Chaos Storm. Plasma and Rafitta trying to step forward. Kai'Sa going in, concussive blows, going to get the stun. The jump across, Kai'Sa exhausted immediately. The Unbreakable coming out from Plasma. Kai'Sa still alive on the control wall. Hadess flashes in, gets the stun, but only onto Zwyroo. Click goes onto the backline, and Rafitta will be able to help Baca take him down. It's 2-for-1 in favor of Mkers so far. Doxy is low, but he's building up that Mega Gnar. About 10% away from it. The Dragon alive. Baca trying to step forward. Doesn't have the ability to put down a Chaos Storm. He used that earlier in the fight. TP coming in from Dreedy. He wants a little bit more of this action. Baca going in once again. Puts down the Death Ray just to stop Zwyroo from being able to back, because UCAM have their eyes on their 3rd Dragon of the game, and that if they secure it, they'll only be 1 away from an Ocean Soul.
That was one of the most disjointed team fights I've ever seen, but it was, at the end of the day, in the favor of UCAM. As you say, 1 more Dragon here. That's going to be Ocean. Ocean's always really, really nice to have in Legends. So it all starts with Dreedy being a little bit greedy. I feel like I've said that like 4 or 5 times this game. But because we were able to get a lot of damage from Baca here, that Chaos Storm does so much in the AoE. He's going to get a few zaps here with his laser that hurt, going to chunk some people down. But it just feels like 1 by 1 for Mkers here. Kai'Sa goes in by himself, then Click flashes in by himself, and then Hadess flashes in by himself. And it's like, pretty disjointed as far as team fights go. But to be honest, despite the fact that it's a 2-kill advantage for Mkers, the low health bars mean, you know, you can't actually contest a Dragon. It's still going to go over to UCAM. And as mentioned, 1 away from Soul, going to be pretty scary when that spawns.
Importantly, that fight was predominantly 4v5 in favor of Mkers, because of course Dreedy just got burst before the fight even really began. After a stellar start on this, Irelia hasn't really been able to impact the map with the gold lead that we've seen. Now has the Trinity Force Blade of the Ruin King complete though, so perhaps he will start having a little bit more of, well, a little bit more pressure, we'll say, in these side lanes. Doxy won't really be able to match up into him for the time being. He's about a full item behind, and you can see Mkers actually playing around Doxy, playing around this bottom side. Plasma stepping forward, Winter's Bite used, 2-level advantage for Guubi on the AD carries here, and Kai'Sa won't go in. Winter's Bite coming out, Doxy stepping forward with the Stride Breaker, but at the moment looks like Mkers are just trying to break down this mid lane tower, and they can't do it against the wave clear coming out from UCAM.
It's a very good point. It's really, really hard to break mid tower, especially considering in position of the map. The minions come in a lot. It's a lot shorter, right?
Yeah.
So you can get to mid lane faster, you can defend it easier. Mid lane has to be the hardest tower to break down, but also the most important one, which is why getting early heralds against control mages like Viktor, really, really important. Dreedy.
Flawless duet coming out. They're looking for Kai'Sa. He goes in. Zwyroo gets in with the realm over the backline, and now Baca's TPing in, but he's in the midst of them all. Click going in, and the killer instinct has been popped by Guubi. UCAM trying to retreat. Baca's already down, and they're right on the Baron. Mkers gonna turn their eyes to the big purple worm. Now Hadess doesn't have flash, does have smite. Rafitta has both of his summoners. Click trying to get a position across the wall here, but he's on a ward, and Rafitta can just jump in. Explosive charge onto him. The Buster Shot's enough to take the kill, and immediately Mkers realize they can't do this without their Alistar. UCAM able to stop the Baron, but Mkers are winning out on these fights.
That was a bit of a hairy one. Mkers turning onto that Baron there. I was a little bit scared, but not too much happening here. And Dreedy just, I mean, okay, so Dreedy getting caught out of position and Baca with horrible TPs just kind of been what's getting Mkers back into this game just a little bit. But hey, I mean, good job for Mkers here to really to understand like the windows where they can engage. And you're seeing as well what this team's really good at doing is like not only engaging but following up with their whole squad. If they go in, everyone else can go in as well. Alistar jumps in, Kai'Sa jumps in, everyone goes like just goes crazy, and that's how you're able to pick up kills in that situation. 11 kills to 5 now, not with the gold lead, but either way, getting these kills is a very good way to keep this game as even as it can be, especially when you look at Kai'Sa, look at Ryze, 305, 405. Like they're sitting pretty here.
It's so difficult for UCAM because we talked about their front to back in draft and how powerful it can be, but at the moment their front is dead before their back can even join the fight. You know, like Dreedy has been dead before the fight in these last 2 battles, and now with a minute on the Ocean Soul, UCAM can leave it. They don't have to fight for this Drake, but an Ocean Soul at this point of the game would be a death knell for Mkers, you have to feel. With their mid lane towers still up, perhaps UCAM feel they can get enough vision into the river to do something about this.
So this is where the game's really going to pivot. I think this is really interesting to keep your eyes on how these teams, like the decision making of the next minute. Basically, are you contesting this dragon if you're UCAM? You do not have to. Mkers absolutely have to. Do you use this 4th dragon as like a bit of bait, kind of maybe get something else on the map, maybe go for Baron?
Okay.
I think it's a bit risky to do that, but you may even fancy your chances, honestly, in a fight. I don't think that it's like totally one-sided at all, despite having 2 fed carries from Mkers. But if you do fluff this team fight, if you're UCAM, you'll probably lose Baron as well. And honestly, if Mkers are going to get into this game, it's going to be through that.
Oh, the Zwyroo damage is so big. Yeah. Look at the damage from the spell flux. Gravity field put down, but Doxy's on his way up. Hasn't built up that Mega Gnar yet. Dreedy's going to try and clear out mid lane. You can see Plasma having to back away, but Tax is going in with a ghost. Goes unstoppable. Onslaught of Shadows used once again, and Dreedy's down. Once again, it's a deja vu. Dreedy and Plasma will fall, and Mkers found the fight they were looking for in the mid lane.
Again, it's just the same thing.
Oh, Guubi jumps in. That was
that was very, very close to Baca there. It doesn't matter though. Like you get him low enough, that's it. He's done. He's not going to be able to contest anything here. Oh my goodness, I feel like UCAM are shooting themselves in the foot a little bit here with the positioning. Dreedy getting caught out once again. I don't know whether Dreedy's just, you know, I don't want to put all of the blame on him. Having said that, he is the one dying. I don't know whether they just need to have a bit more communication so that if Dreedy is in those positions, UCAM can be around to stop the engage from Hecarim. As I mentioned, you lose this dragon fight, it's going to be the Baron.
Or
is it?
TP and Hadess has flash. They're looking to try and get in this. Dreedy going in. There's the Vanguard's edge onto the back line as well. Hadess splashes into the pit. Hadess gets it! Oh, Hadess is nuts in this play! What a performance from the Udyr. Steals away the Baron. Dreedy dies. Plasma shuts down Guubi. Tax is dead. And somehow UCAM have CPR'd this game back to life.
And any hope that Mkers had of getting back into this game just disappeared right there. Hadess with that perfect Baron steal. Dreedy respawning just in time to get that TP in. Oh my goodness, yeah, that could have been for Mkers right there. They could have brought us to a game 3. Now it's looking like really, really hard here. That steal was just something else. And Hadess, oh my goodness, we've got to put a spotlight on that guy. I want to see how that happened again. 50-50s are always painful to watch as a jungle main, not gonna lie. Not gonna lie.
I mean, it's true. Hey. There's a reason we highlighted him as the player to watch for this UCAM lineup right at the start of the day, and he shows up when it matters. 0-2-3 this game, but that Smite may have just won his team at least a way back into the match, if not the match, because now Dreedy has Baron. Oh no, Dreedy died after the Baron, so Dreedy doesn't have Baron, but they have the ability to push out these waves. UCAM have a 3,000 gold lead, and 3 minutes away, there's an Ocean Soul for them still.
Exactly, that's the thing you got to keep your eye on now. It's that Ocean Soul play. This is why getting on 3 dragons is so powerful, because you just have so much sway over the map. I'm not going to finish this though, because Mkers coming in.
Looking for that back line. The damage onto Rafitta is so big. The shutdown comes out, but Dreedy able to kill off Guubi, and now the fight really begins. It's a 3v4. Here comes Baca. Look at how Zwyroo is. He's the final carry left here for Mkers, but he's shut down, and Dreedy finally showing up in a fight, lands the flawless duet. Kai'Sa just able to ghost his way away. But you can win the fight. It might be GG, as you say. The minions pushing in the mid lane. Only 2 players left alive for Mkers, and UCAM may have just struck the final blow in this series.
I can't believe it, but if your Irelia doesn't die at the start of the fight, turns out she can actually do some pretty crazy stuff. Dreedy, because he wasn't the focus in this one, because it was Rafitta going down instead, able to put it out and kill the carries of Mkers. Will this be it? I think UCAM are going to turn around.
Yeah, Guubi's up too soon. I think UCAM going to turn around, as you say, 2 minutes before that soul comes up. A 5,000 gold swing from this Baron. UCAM were behind before it began, but now Mkers find themselves at a deficit. They have an incredibly fed Ryze, an incredibly fed Kai'Sa, but we've seen what UCAM can do in a team fight.
If UCAM have the best setup, if they don't get caught out of position, if they're grouped up, like let's not mince words. Dreedy has died too much, and he has been caught out too much out of position before these fights. But even in this last fight, even in this previous fight, Rafitta kind of went down without anything going, without any trade back. It was basically a 45.
He jumps in, he has to flash away from Kai'Sa. Onslaught Shadows is used. Rafitta, that was... you talked about Tristana being an engage tool earlier on. I didn't expect it to happen.
They all get one. That's Rafitta's right there. It doesn't cost him anything, but his flash will be down for this dragon fight. That actually might be fairly significant, because this is going to be a very, very important fight right here. Mkers are going to want to, you know, they've won most of the team fights. But honestly, I feel a little bit scared for Mkers, because they've had the perfect engages every time, whether it's Dreedy going down, whether it's Rafitta going down, and they haven't really been able to get any clean team fight victories. Let's see if UCAM, as this dragon spawns in less than a minute, see what they decide to do.
Dreedy's working his way down from the top lane. Mid lane tower will finally fall here for Mkers. That's a third of the game, 4,000 gold in the hole right now, but they are working their way towards this dragon. Dreedy joins up with the rest of UCAM. Plasma, the one to face check, the one to be on that front line. A good ward across the wall will spot out Doxy. Hadess stepping in. Of course, super minions pushing in this mid lane. You can see UCAM just trying to get mid-wave prio, get that pushed forward, and Mkers realize, well, we can't go for the dragon, because UCAM can just push in with the wave. Kai'Sa has the Onslaught of Shadows, about to come back off cooldown. Zwyroo taking the long way around. Click on his way here as well, but UCAM have just forced the super minions into the base. Plasma, oh, he face checks straight into them. Kai'Sa on the front line now. The Unbreakable coming out. Hadess trying to get onto Guubi, but can't quite get onto the back line. The Realm Wall coming out as well from Zwyroo. Onslaught of Shadows used, but Kai'Sa's already dead, and Dreedy gets the Vanguard's edge onto the back line. You can see Click's trying to be on the back himself, but Guubi dives in and falls. Clicks on the on Rafitta, won't be able to do too much as UCAM get the sweep. They clean up the fight. Mkers were forced into a compromising situation, and UCAM struck. Doxy the last man standing, but UCAM will be able to clean this one up. They've got super minions pushing in, and this will be their way to semi-final. UCAM, representing the Superliga, are going to semis.
It's been a long time since the Superliga made top 4, and a region that has had such success historically in EU Masters. It was just not good enough. But this time around, UCAM with a dominant performance in game 1 and a very impressive kind of comeback. I mean, I don't really know how to describe game 2. They were always behind in kills, but still, it didn't really look like they were going to lose that game at any point. This is a team to keep your eyes on in semis. They're going to be playing up against the winner of our next series, which is K-Corp versus SupUp. And, you know, that semi-final is going to be really, really interesting to watch, because UCAM absolutely proved themselves that they are a solid team.
Yeah, a couple of mistakes in game 2, but overall an incredible performance from UCAM, as you say. They go through to the semifinals, and up next we'll have K-Corp taking on SupUp.
I was down to the wire. You took me on by surprise. There was summer inside. Now I can think of a time that I wasn't sober. Where we'll always know where to go, where to spend our time together. Don't mind, wherever we are, we'll be fine. You keep me warm on a cold, long winter December night, December night. You know what I like, do it once, do it twice. Heat up by the fire, December night, December night, December night, December night.
Well, my mama called me crawling. Well, I gotta know I wasn't very big, and I don't wanna crawl some more. Do you love me, Mom? Crawl up to your door. Only thing you want is crawl up to your floor. Calling, can't
All or nothing. And welcome back to the EU Masters quarterfinals. We just saw UCAM with a convincing victory against Mkers in that second game. Convincing series win, we'll say at least. The second game perhaps slightly closer than you would have expected. But we are going to have a look at some of the highlights of the game because it really got rolling very quickly with a topside scuttle fight.
Yeah, and it was really back and forth for a lot of this game as far as the skirmishes were concerned. Like, it was not a game that Mkers rolled over and died. Definitely not as one-sided as the first game. I think Mkers were ahead in kills quite a lot of this game, honestly. And yeah, I mean, as a jungler, you love to see it. Just every team dogpiling into the scuttle crab, you know. And if you're a jungler, you know, and your team wins, you say good job. If you're a jungler and your team loses, you say team diff, and you go next. But it didn't happen that way actually, because Mkers, you know, they did win that. They didn't win out that one, but they did win out future ones here, and you can see these team fights really were going in the favor of the Italian side. UCAM, I think you probably won't see it in the highlights because it's more subtle League of Legends. The way they moved around the map was really impressive, able to get themselves some advantages to get back into the game.
Yeah, UCAM were playing the opposite side of the map a lot of the time today. They were able to get a lot of plates, a lot of objectives. You can see even in the gold across the board, like UCAM were behind on kills for the entire game, yet managed to get 7,000 more gold across the course of it. And a lot of it came down to the fact that they were getting those plays and they got those early advantages. And with people like Baca doing that much damage on a Viktor who was behind in lane, you wonder whether UCAM will be able to make it all the way through to the finals, even though they probably play up against K-Corp in the semi-finals later on this week.
Yeah, they'll be up against whoever wins between K-Core and Sup Up, of course. Could go either way. Of course, it's definitely not decided just yet. We'll be playing that next. I do want to obviously give a big shout out to the PG Nats, the Italian League, for what they were able to do in EU Masters. Yes, you weren't able to bring it out, but you know what? You did pretty good to get this far, and we're all proud of you. So good job. This is the really awkward Baron play. You just hate to see it as a jungler, honestly. 50-50 Baron plays. This was where Mkers were looking like they were going to get back into the game, really take a foothold. Just wasn't to be. The Hadess just doing Hadess things, getting that still, zooming around on this Udyr in these team fights, doing his job, and really just being the backbone of their victory in that game.
Just so much disruption from him. Like, he stuns Doxy, so Doxy can't build up a Mega Gnar. By the time Doxy's into that Mega Gnar, the fight is already won for UCAM. He even gets the slowdown onto Guubi. Like, Hadess just played that so well. And
I actually thought in that last clip, sorry to interrupt you, but I thought in that last clip, Ryze was standing still, was like, yeah, okay, it's over, GG. No, he's just stunned.
he was stunned.
Then the Viktor stun went off. I generally thought that was that, but no. All right.
Yeah, he was stunned. Great play over from UCAM. Of course, we'll see them later on in the week in the semi-finals. But up next, Munchables and K-Draws will bring... K-Draw will bring you game one of K-Corp versus Sup Up. You make sure you stay tuned.